soup we'll be experiencing today.
Our next lobster flew halfway across the world to join us. And the best part, he's still alive.
Oh, this right here is the American lobster. This guy weighs in at over 6 pounds and he costs over $160. How much?
160.
And he costs, yeah, there you go. The American lobster is the biggest of all the lobsters. These guys grow up deep in the Atlantic Ocean where it is freezing and where they have to store more body fat to stay warm. And you know what fat is? Fat is flavor. I would say the most special thing about these lobsters is right here. That claw meat, baby. Look, at the end of their feet, they also have more claws. How many claws do you need in a day? I'm now about to find out what happens when you put your finger in the leg claw of a lobster. I've never seen anybody do this, not even Coyote Pearson, whatever that guy's name is. All right, here we go.
This American lobster is being served up in 2 courses. The first featuring the often discarded lobster blood. First, the chef minces a pile of tiger prawns with culantro. Then he adds cilantro. A few slices of lime garnish the plate. Now the chef pierces the lobster with a giant needle, extracting its blood, letting it drip over the minced shrimp. As with pork or beef blood, after a few minutes it coagulates, becoming solid.
Yeah, that's not something you see every day. In Vietnam, they have a long, rich history of eating raw blood from different animals. It's not just a lobster. It's all been solidified. Let's give it a shot. Wow. Whoa. That was pretty intense. It is salty, it is briny, it tastes of the ocean. But no, it's not ocean water, because ocean water doesn't become solid like this. You're getting a lot here in one bite. You're getting these fragrant aromatics, you're getting that shrimp that gives it some body, and you're getting some crunchy bits. But really, what takes over your mouth more than anything is that intense taste of briny lobster blood jello. The more you eat it, the more you like it. Right here you can see some of that coagulated blood. It is a mysterious fluid, like those found in most of the hotel rooms I stay in. Coming up next, sashimi. Chef, take it away. The chef starts by taking the scissors to remove the tail. After removing the tail, he uses the scissors to remove the hard shell from the outside. He uses a knife to carefully carve out that uncooked meat from the inside. From here, he's moving the nasty bits from the underside of the tail. All that remains is this semi-translucent hunk of meat that he's now slicing into little bite-sized pieces. From here, he moves the tail meat onto the ice. Ooh, it's looking slimy. This is the first part of this meal, the tail. What's gonna happen next is he's gonna carve out the raw meat from inside the claw. Oh my God, he reaches for his heavy cleaver. Yes, do it. I'm getting shards of shell in my eye. I'm getting debris. His approach is to cut around the edges to free the meat inside. So at this point, he's cut the whole periphery of the claw, and he's gonna slowly use a knife to detach the muscle from the shell. Oh, he puts it in an arm bar, and we're left with this right here. Just a big, goopy piece of claw meat. It looks incredible. So now he's gonna cut the claw goo into bite-sized pieces. Oh, and he puts that atop the ice. Now, I've had sashimi lobster tail before, so I know that I actually like this. It's something familiar, but these gooey claws, well, we're gonna find out soon. Right here, I've got a nice piece of tail. It's sinewy, it's stringy, it's fascinating. It immediately soaks up that salty goodness. Let's throw it back. I knew it. I knew that would be good. The wasabi gives you a little bit of a hit, a little sting. That soy sauce, it's providing so much salt, so much flavor. It's bringing out the flavor of the lobster. But then we have the claw. Right here, we have some of the gooeyest animal meat I've ever seen. Oh, boy. You know what? No soy sauce. I don't need any training wheels for my food today. Neat. Salty, briny. It tastes like that blood jello that we had earlier, but the texture is out of this world. Cooking does so much. Oh, you know what? It's a bit like an oyster, but a really big, soft, fleshy oyster. Is it good? No, it's off-putting. This is the second most expensive lobster dish of the day. But coming up next, the most expensive lobster dish of the day. Pretty obvious. Everything we've done today has built up to this moment. Let's reach inside and pull it out to take a look. Oh my God, that's a big fat beauty. Vietnam is home to many species of spiny lobster, but this is the most famous. This is the ornate spiny lobster. It is very ornate. Look how ornate it is. This one is coming in at nearly 4 pounds, but the price is an astronomical $250. Yes, for this guy who is essentially an amputee. You've got no arms. It has no claws, but it does have a fat, juicy tail. This bad boy right here is gonna be turned into risotto.
First, boil the spiny lobster with onion and lemon to mellow out any fishy taste. This lobster often hides in deep ocean crevices, making it challenging to catch. On top of that, its prized meat is firm, juicy, and packed with exceptional sweetness, making it one of the most sought-after and luxurious lobsters in the world. Season the lobster tail with salt and pepper. Heat some olive oil in a pan, then gently sear the tail, crisping up the exterior. Add in a generous amount of butter, thyme, and garlic. As the butter melts and absorbs all the flavors in the pan, the chef uses it to baste the lobster. After a few minutes, the lobster tail is finished off in the oven. In the same pan, quickly sauté shallots, then add risotto rice. After stirring, pour in a lobster stock made from the lobster head and vegetables. Enhance the rice with miso paste, Parmesan cheese, and more butter. Add salt to taste and let the flavors meld together. Once cooked, transfer the risotto into a bowl, then smooth the surface, because our lobster accepts no other condition. Once the lobster joins the risotto, the chef adds mascarpone cheese, dried tomatoes, pickled shallots, and edible flowers. Finish with parsley and bon appetito.
Ladies and gentlemen, the $250 lobster risotto. It looks incredible. We're gonna build up to that big, beautiful, glorious tail, but first, I wanna try some of this risotto. It's creamy, it's thick, it is delicious. It tastes of lobstery seafood essence. There's different spices and seasonings tickling my taste buds and moments and nuances that hit me and then fade away. I can't really pin down some of the ingredients. I'm amazed how much of an umami flavor the risotto has, but that is not the star of this dish. The star is right here, the tail. I'm gonna plunge my fork into this soft flesh. Oh my God. This is half of it. Oh my God, it's so delicious. I almost burst into tears. It's very nice. It is a huge amount of meat. I don't recommend taking a bite that big. It is sweet, it's soft, but it has some bite to it. I still find it to be succulent and juicy. This is a plant. Stem. I think the best thing I could do is pair this meat with the risotto. That was good. 300% flavor. I taste Parmesan, butter, it's cheesy, it's umami, it's savory, and then you've just got a big chunk of opulent seafood in your mouth at the same time. An Italian preparation of an Asian lobster. The fusion, it works beautifully. Like when you're a white guy and you meet a Vietnamese lady and you have a kid. It's a crossbreed. It's supposed to be stronger than a purebred. That's what I heard. Today I ate every kind of lobster I could find in Asia. Some were domestic, some were foreigners. All of them were pretty dang delicious. Which one was victorious in this head-to-head battle? The answer, the spiny lobster. When you have basically a 2-pound piece of spiny lobster tail meat and you slap that on top of some decadent risotto, oof, that for me was like a 10 out of 10 experience.
Hungry for more fun food videos? Join me at more Best Ever Food Review Show, a channel that's unfiltered, raw, half the quality, and twice the fun.
Could you walk away and come back? Oh, look, the server.
Subscribe now and you probably won't regret it.
Here you can see a size comparison between the two crabs. One monster red slipper crab. This is more of a starter lobster. You know, like a starter home.
Does not retreat.
A pricey crustacean. Is it a crustacean? Are you a crustacean? Hey! Oh, you're so naughty. Stop it. Oh. Whenever you go into a Red Lobster, the tank looks like a refugee camp for seafood. It's just like 4 tiny, ill lobsters hiding in the corner, huddled over each other, trying to protect themselves from an unknown fate. What do you guys think? You saw 7 different lobsters in this video. Which one would you most want to try? Let me know downstairs in the comments below. Otherwise, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Peace. All right. I can't wait to do eating every snail, every shrimp, every shark, every dolphin. Oh man, it's gonna be great. Ooh, every whale.
So for around the last year, I've been keeping up with the news regarding the latest live-action Disney film, Snow White. And from the start, it really did seem like this movie was destined to be a commercial failure, as they tried to replace the dwarfs with the Justice Squad of diversity.
Photos just came out showing that the Snow White movie replaced the 7 dwarves and 7 average people instead. Do you think Disney made the right choice doing this?
It's a bad thing. I'm not agreeing with it. You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, it's for dwarfs.
Now obviously people absolutely hated that idea, a lot of people find these dwarfs to be iconic, and then the two main talent in the film, Rachel Ziegler and Gal Gadot, went on a ton of interviews basically saying this rendition of the film was going to be altered quite a bit, with the main theme now being feminism.
Reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago,
The
and
warrior spirit
therefore
is never
it's
broken.
extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power.
Also, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms.
Keep in mind, this film has technically been in the making since 2016, and with this being based on the first animated film ever, a staple in the Disney IP, fans had very high expectations. Now by 2021, it began to really materialize. The film had now been casted, written, and they knew who the director would be. And then obviously it ran into these problems with public perception by the time the trailer would actually come out.
Weird.
So Disney had to go back to the drawing board, which delayed the release of this film by an entire year. And in the end, the total budget for this movie was $209 million. And strangely enough, now that this thing is finally going to see the light of day, it seems like Disney is doing everything in their power to just get it over with. In fact, I would say they're downright sick of the headache this movie has become. And today we're going to talk about why Disney is basically saying, here, damn, with the release of this film. You've been having a lot of articles like this come out. Disney scales back Snow White Hollywood premiere amid Rachel Ziegler and Gal Gadot controversies. And when they say scaling back, this is what they mean. Disney is hosting a Hollywood premiere of Snow White on March 15th, which is in 2 days, but the studio won't be rolling out a robust red carpet like it usually does. The afternoon festivities will include a pre-party and screening at the El Capitan Theater with star Rachel Ziegler and Gal Gadot. However, the red carpet will not include the dozens of media outlets usually invited by Disney to interview the cast and creatives at its premieres. Instead, coverage will be limited to photographers and a house crew. So it essentially seems like Disney wants as much control of this red carpet premiere as they can get. They don't want these people being asked any more spontaneously tough questions. They don't want this entire thing to become more political than it already has. And to a lot of people in the industry, this seems to be a pretty clear sign that Disney does not have a lot of faith in this movie. And the other reason people started to share that opinion was because of the way they decided to pre-sale the tickets for this movie.
Get tickets now for the magical musical movie event.
It's time.
I don't know what it is about this specific frame right here, but I feel like they just did her beyond dirty with this horrible CGI. I mean, they got her ass out here looking like a bobblehead. And overall, whoever styled her hair for this movie just did her beyond dirty. I mean, they got her out here looking more like Lord Farquaad than Snow White.
This is my kingdom.
You dare to disobey me?
The queen stole it from all of us. Come on.
In theaters March 21st. Disney's Snow White.
Can you point me in the right direction?
And the other thing I think is that they made these dwarfs look like absolute shit. I mean, like, who the fuck is that? Old big face looking ass, old scary face looking ass. This shit's gonna haunt me in my fucking nightmares. I mean, I'm serious, guys. Don't you just want to smack him in his big old water head? The other funny thing was that you just had Disney hiding hundreds upon hundreds of replies to this, where people, you know, obviously had negative feelings about this trailer. But yeah, back to the ticket release. They would announce these back back on March 10th, which is only 11 days before the actual premiere of this movie, like the public premiere. And that is very abnormal for a movie of this caliber that Disney spent so much money on. When you compare this release to something like The Little Mermaid, which was one of the last live-action movies that Disney did, you can see the big difference is that they released these pre-sale tickets about 1 month before the release date, which has now been like the current standard for Disney's bigger films. In fact, the last time a studio would roll something out in a similar fashion was actually when Universal came out with The Flash, and obviously they ended up having this absolute creep cast as the main character. And I mean, look at the things this guy was doing, okay? He was accused of committing assaults, burglary, disorderly conduct, harassment, and of minors. Obviously back then that film had a ton of negative PR. Universal probably felt like they were on a sinking ship, and so for that situation to be compared with this Disney situation, and for them to kind of decide to go that same route, kind of tells people that Disney is more or less just going through the motions here. Just for more reference, this is what the Little Mermaid premiere was looking like. Basically what I'm trying to show here is that Disney is more accustomed to making an entire event about this. They love to invite all the biggest media outlets to come out and basically give them some good publicity in anticipation for a movie's release, where they will do things like invite celebrities to come on, they'll do an entire theme for the night. Basically, it seems like they'll actually give a shit. An inside source had this to say: they've been going through the motions on Snow White, all but saying, we need to get this thing over with. An advanced sales cycle of less than 2 weeks just screams, we have zero faith in this thing. And it couldn't come at a worse point when the industry is just trying to limp along to May. And obviously, guys, people do not go to the movies at the same clip like they did 10 or 20 years ago. But when I looked up some local tickets for this movie at some very popular locations in Austin, Texas, almost every theater I saw had not made one single sale. And I'm not talking about just for the premiere, which will be on like a Thursday, so you could say, oh, it's just a little bit of a weird day for someone to go take their kid to see a movie like this. Because I checked that Friday night, I checked the entire weekend, and literally every local theater I checked had sold less than 2 tickets. Even before the LA premiere news, however, there was a sense that Disney was being a bit bashful about Snow White. One theater owner and a rival studio source says that Disney's massive marketing machine has been uncharacteristically quiet until recently, noting advanced ticket sales didn't commence until Monday, less than 2 weeks before the film's release. Many of the studio's live-action family tentpoles in recent years have typically become available to book at least a month before the film opens. Disney would also release this clip from the film.
Your Majesty, people are struggling, and it may not be much, but when I was young, my parents and I would pick apples. We take them and make pies and go out into the village.
Pies are luxuries. They don't need luxuries. It confuses them.
Something small, something sweet even, can make you believe that there's more to being alive than mere subsistence.
I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
I mean, honestly, based on this one scene, Gal Gadot does not seem like a very good actress at all. I mean, she seems like her face only has one expression, like that boy Plank from Ed, Edd n Eddy. It's just the same thing over and over again. That shit don't move. People were also noting that they changed the fundamental reason why she's called Snow White. Disney's Snow White says she got her name because she survived a bit of snowstorm. And as much as I don't really like accounts like this, I find them to be a little bit politically divisive. And I feel like they just post rage bait that makes grown men like this mad. This isn't Snow White. Fuck Disney. Like, if this type of topic makes you feel that passionate as a grown man, I don't really know what to tell you. But I say all that to say that that account did make a good point, because in the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale, Snow White was named Snow White because her mother wished for a daughter with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. And it's one of those things to me where you're changing like the core fundamentals of a classic film, and it's all in an effort to be like overtly PC. Like, yes, there's some things about old media and cartoons that would definitely require like a bit of a political correction for modern times. Like, sometimes you'll see those disclaimers, but this is one of those things where it's like there's nothing really wrong with someone having some white ass skin, and that being the reason that their name is Snow White. But because of that, I don't want to hear shit when I get cast as Peter Cat. When they cast me as Li Shang, I don't want people saying I'm not Asian enough. As a matter of fact, I want to be casted as this white boy. Just a little side note, this has to be one of the most underrated Disney movies of all time. In all seriousness though, one of the reasons this film has become such a PR nightmare for Disney is the fact that the two leading actresses have some really serious beef. Here they were presenting an award at the Oscars.
Push the boundaries of what you see on screen.
Their work makes the impossible seem possible. Here are the nominees for Best Visual Effects.
And the thing is, these two women went from being like, yeah, feminism, we're both strong women, to now it's like that clip of Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. And it really all stems from the fact that she is pro-Palestine, and this woman is Jewish, so obviously she's pro-Israel, and they have both been quite public about their opinions.
I am proud to be an Israeli, and I am proud to be Jewish. But this is a time when many of us in the Jewish community have had to find our voice and confront the hatred against us, even if it's extremely uncomfortable.
And so basically they're covering all these political bases. And I think it's just become a massive headache for Disney. I mean, you got tweets like this getting hundreds of thousands of likes. Your reminder to boycott Snow White. And obviously with the actresses being on either side of the spectrum when it comes to this issue, you end up getting hate from all these different directions. It's like you're pissing absolutely everybody off. Here, Rachel Zegler shares a pro-Palestine message. Someone says, thank you for speaking, better late than never. And she says, I've been public with pro-Palestine stance since 2021. Have a nice day. And when Trump was elected back in November, Rachel would take to Instagram to share her feelings, basically saying she was shocked, that she was heartbroken, that this country had apparently become a safe haven for hatred. And I guess this was the part that really made headlines, made Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. I mean, for people who really let politics run their life, when their candidate loses, you know, for me, I guess it would be like my team losing the Super Bowl, losing the World Series. Now, eventually, she would actually apologize for this. I'm guessing that Disney made a call, maybe some black SUVs showed up at her crib. And so here she says, hi everyone, I would like to sincerely apologize for the election post I shared on my Instagram last week. I let my emotions get the best of me. Hatred and anger have caused us to move further and further away from peace and understanding, and I'm sorry I contributed to the negative discourse. And like I said, I really do think that Disney kind of made the call here, because how often do you really see someone who's passionate about politics like go back on their beliefs? Almost never. And despite all of this, Rachel must be one of the most media-trained people on Earth, because she claims that the reason for the backlash to the film is due to passion. I interpret people's sentiments towards this film as passion. We're an honor to be part of something that people feel so passionately about. We're not always going to agree with everyone who surrounds us, and all we can do is our best. And despite all of this being an absolute PR nightmare for Disney, the film is actually still projected to do pretty well. They're thinking it's going to gross around $53 million in the opening weekend, and I guess you never really know what's going to happen. I mean, you have some YouTube channels saying that this is going to destroy Disney altogether, which is just a beyond stupid stance to have. I mean, have y'all ever been to Disney World? There's people leaking out that motherfucker, spending all types of money on their little ears and the shitty food. Yeah, guys, I don't know what it is about this specific frame, but it just makes me feel some horrible thoughts. And I think they did her even dirtier, literally, with those teeth. I mean, they got her out here looking like Lord Farquaad, Mr. George Washington. In all reality here, though, I do think that Disney kind of fell for the sunk cost fallacy. I think it was one of those things where it was like they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. And like I said, this thing just became such a big headache for them. They're just like, here, damn, take the motherfucker. We got Lilo and Stitch on the way now, and people are actually liking the way, you know, that one's looking early on. But I want to know what you guys think about this topic down below. For those of you that do have kids, do you plan to take them to see this? For those of you that are older but are just Disney fans, are you hyped up for this? Either way, I just want to thank you guys for watching today's video, dropping a like and subscribing. But as you guys know, it's getting towards Japan Superman. Some other botched movie releases out that need to be covered, so I'm out. Peace!
shall be done.
Down.
Only actions truly speak. Here's a drift and a spear behind it. Victory calls. A Demacian does not
Has been slain.
The warrior spirit is never broken. Perish with honor. Let's level the playing field.
Has been slain.
For me. To triumph. My king commands.
Slain.
Always forward.
Rampage. Enemy has been slain.
Sound the march. Only actions truly speak.
Your turret has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed.
Call it redistribute.
Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
The warrior spirit.
An ally has been slain. Enemy rampage.
The democracy does not retreat. Press the assault. To triumph. My king commands. Always forward.
Defeat.
Gimmicks in hip-hop don't tend to last.
Which is the strongest Zanpakuto in Bleach? That's the question that we're going to try and answer today. In fact, I'm going to attempt to rank what I believe to be the top 10 strongest of them all. We haven't looked at the Zanpakuto themselves like this for almost 4 years, which is a terrifying thought, and upon revisiting this subject, it occurred to me that this is a nearly impossible list to make. In order to level the playing field somewhat, I tried to completely remove the Zanpakuto's respective Shinigami from the equation, but that only introduced even more issues. Doing so effectively means a lot of these Zanpakuto that would make the list already are now all extremely powerful in their own right, maybe even more so when not limited by their wielder's strength or mentality. Plus, separating Shinigami from Zanpakuto is inherently almost impossible anyway, since you can't really have one without the other, hence the blade is me. Nozarashi wouldn't exist in the same capacity without Kenpachi behind it, for example, but still, all that being said, I've gone and done it anyway. And by the way, before we get started, a special shout out goes out to the sponsor of today's video, a new sponsor for the channel, Mecha Japan. I'm in need of some new figures and merch for the background here. I'm always trying to evolve and change it over time, and obviously it looks pretty nice since moving into the new house, but Mecha Japan is a fantastic resource. It's gonna be a fantastic resource for me to hopefully continue to improve my collection with some awesome new Bleach merch, and you can do exactly the same, but we'll take a closer look at what they have to offer a little later in the video. And so we come to the list. Like I said, this was incredibly difficult to make, I can't stress that enough. And there's an absolute litany of Zanpakuto that didn't make the list for one reason or another, even though I think they are incredibly strong in their own right. Zanpakuto like Sakanade, Wabisuke, Suzumushi, Zabimaru, Kinshara, Suzumebachi, when taken at face value with their Shinigami removed as best as possible, these are all extraordinarily strong weapons with crazy abilities. But when you see the list itself, what made the list, the caliber of Zanpakuto there, the Zanpakuto on there are just on another level entirely, and hopefully you'll agree. So without further ado, let's get started on the list itself. These are the top 10 strongest Zanpakuto in the Bleach manga, ranked. Before we get started on the video, guys, there will be some spoilers for the remainder of the 1000-Year Blood War arc of Bleach to come, so make sure you're aware of that before diving in. And if you want to help support the channel that extra step further, consider hitting subscribe when you're done with this video. If you enjoyed it and you want to stay up to date with everything that I put out here, I really would appreciate it. And speaking of support, if you haven't checked out my other channel, Mr. Tomo Talks Games, make sure to go and do that now. In honor of my favorite game's 10th anniversary, Bloodborne, this month, I'll be uploading a few videos looking at what I think are the main pillars that made that game so great, starting with the video I put out yesterday analysing the DLC, The Old Hunters, and its first boss, specifically Ludwig. So if you've got any interest in that at all, consider going over there and checking out that channel. I really would appreciate the support, and consider dropping a subscribe there as well if you like what you see. And as always, I want to start things off then with a few honourable mentions. Now, like I said, there are innumerable amount of Zanpakuto that frankly could have made this list, and so I'd like to include them all here in some form or another. Those that I mentioned previously, Shinji's Sakanade, Tosen's Suzumushi, Izaru's Wabisuke, Renji's Zabimaru, Rose's Kinshara, Soifon's Suzumebachi. These Zanpakuto are all incredibly strong when you boil it down to what their abilities are, what they can do. Some are stronger than others in certain areas. Zabimaru, for instance, has an incredibly powerful and versatile true Bankai, while Suzumebachi is extremely deadly when in Shikai, possessing an ability like no other, one designed for assassination. But there are a few other Zanpakuto that I wanted to truly take a moment to highlight here in the honourable mentions section of the video too. First up is Uetsu Nimaya's Sayafushi, certainly one of the strangest Zanpakuto on this list. Uetsu is of course the Blade God, the creator of the Zanpakuto, and in his eyes Sayafushi is a failure. Its edge is simply too sharp. The sword cannot be contained in any sheath. It's for this reason that Sayafushi must be transported in a vat of liquid, and how in Uetsu's own words, the blade has a one-hit, one-kill swing. And that's what's curious about Sayafushi. It makes it onto this list not because of its abilities, but simply due to how it's been made, how it was forged. Whatever abilities Sayafushi may have, if any at all, we don't know them. But the sword itself is so absurdly, impossibly sharp that Uetsu uses it to effortlessly carve through Yhwach's Schutzstaffel with ease. The reason it doesn't make it onto the list itself is because of that very reason, however. Since the one-hit, one-kill swing of Sayafushi isn't an ability, it isn't playing by any hard and fast rules, and we see that by successfully timing his dodge, Askin was able to avoid being killed instantly despite being struck, contradicting Uetsu's own proclamation. This is still a ridiculously dangerous and powerful Zanpakuto, experimental even, but those on the list are playing by a different set of rules. Next up in the honourable mentions is Byakuya Kuchiki's Senbon Sakura, which in my opinion is one of Bleach's most well-balanced and versatile Zanpakuto. In many ways, Senbon Sakura has it all. Overwhelming, relentless offensive capabilities, an all-encompassing defensive shield, and even a multi-tiered Bankai with a variety of special forms. Yes, Senbon Sakura's power to split the sword itself into thousands of cherry blossom blades is extremely powerful, while at the same time remaining one of the most fair, balanced, and reliable weapons of the series. What keeps it from making the list for real, however, is its lack of a single killer ability. Senbon Sakura, even in Bankai, doesn't possess the kind of inherently busted power that basically every Zanpakuto on the actual top 10 has, and I think you'll see what I mean as we progress through. But outside of those frankly broken Zanpakuto that make up the upper echelon, Senbon Sakura stands tall as perhaps the best of the best, in my opinion. And the final Zanpakuto I want to highlight here in the honourable mention slot is perhaps going to be the most controversial placement on this entire list. Even I'm not fully convinced by it, but it's Kenpachi Zaraki's Nozarashi. It felt fitting to place it here alongside Byakuya's Senbon Sakura, as the two are often directly compared, especially by yours truly. But remember that crucially, I'm trying my best to separate Zanpakuto and Shinigami here. Nozarashi is maybe one of the toughest examples of achieving this in a harmonious way, however, as without Kenpachi behind it, what really is Nozarashi at all? In many ways, it does represent the perfect foil to Senbon Sakura. Where Senbon Sakura is versatile and elegant, Nozarashi is immensely straightforward and brutish. While any abilities Nozarashi might have are never outright explained, it is clear the Zanpakuto can essentially cut through anything, including even a meteor and space itself, which is pretty absurd, while its Bankai transforms the user into a hulking, devilish berserker, whose physical attributes are amplified enormously. Again, unlike the multi-tiered approach to Bankai of Senbon Sakura, Nozarashi's unnamed Bankai is very much what you see is what you get. For now, I'm content with placing this here. Removing their respective Shinigami from the equation, Nozarashi and Senbon Sakura do feel like two sides of the same coin. And so, with the honourable mentions out of the way, it's time now for the actual top 10, but before that, first a word from today's sponsor. Over the years, you might have noticed behind me that I've got even this bucks from be sure to find something that speaks to you. We're really using some you found a comment plot of every our list. We have Gin Ichimaru's Shinso, one of Bleach's deadliest Zanpakuto. Now, the Shikai isn't necessarily anything special. It's extremely quick and unpredictable, with Gin able to rapidly extend the Zanpakuto's blade in a flash, but that's really all it can do. However, where this Zanpakuto truly shines is with its Bankai, Kamishini no Yari, unlocking a power capable of killing even a god. Kamishini no Yari's ultimate ability is devastatingly strong, and perhaps most dangerous of all, essentially impossible to see coming. Gin's Bankai, even more so than the Shikai, is immeasurably quick, and it's over from the moment he successfully stabs his opponent, leaving a fragment of the blade inside them, which then dissolves into a fatal poison that corrodes the body. By doing so, Gin was even able to kill a transcendent Aizen, who had long evolved beyond the normal limits of a Shinigami. Were it not for the Hogyoku's interference, Gin would have killed Aizen with ease right there and then. On top of this, Kamishini no Yari is both absurdly long and, as mentioned, impossibly fast, giving its wielder everything they need in battle. In 9th place we have, would you believe it, another difficult Zanpakuto to deserves to be here somewhere, and that's Mayuri Kurotsuchi's Ashisogi Jizo. In its Shikai state, its simplest, most condensed form, Ashisogi Jizo honestly feels like a better version of Wabisuke. Simply by slashing the opponent, Ashisogi Jizo cuts out the middleman and paralyzes their limbs, rendering them totally immobile, as we see with both Uryu and Kenpachi. This is a deceptively nasty ability, meaning Ashisogi Jizo needs to only land a single hit to leave its opponent utterly helpless. Then there's the Bankai, Konjiki Ashisogi Jizo, and that's where things get tough. Konjiki Ashisogi Jizo is even more intimately tied to Mayuri than most, as he actively modifies and transforms his Bankai, and his initial Bankai wasn't even acquired through the normal means, but by utilizing the technology used in Nemu's creation and growth. Meaning, what I'm getting at here is that we would not have this form of Bankai without Mayuri himself. Still, using what we see in the manga, the original form of this Bankai spews a deadly poison from its mouth, which is fatal to anyone that can't formulate an antidote in time. And of course, Konjiki Ashisogi Jizo Matai Fukuin Shotai is even more incredible, completely transforming the Bankai into one that can counter anything, so long as the user has enough time to gather data throughout a battle. This theoretically should mean that Matai Fukuin Shotai can surpass any Zanpakuto put before it, but there are just too many unanswered questions regarding how this variant Bankai actually works. In 8th place we have Toshiro Hitsugaya's Hyorin Maru, which again is one of the most versatile Zanpakuto in the series. But, unlike Byakuya's Senbon Zakura, Hyorin Maru also has that broken element to go alongside it, that element that tips it over the edge, and when you strip away the captain using it, reveals easily one of the strongest Zanpakuto in Bleach. In many ways, Hyorin Maru feels analogous to Ryujin Jaka. It is the ultimate Zanpakuto of its type, and can even control the weather to its benefit, massively increasing its own power and utility. Hitsugaya is famously both immature as a captain and good-natured as a warrior, leading to Hyorin Maru often feeling as though it's being held back, as though it's being shackled somehow. Hitsugaya's time as a zombie gives us a valuable insight into what this Zanpakuto could really be like. A simple swing of the Shikai is enough to cover an entire portion of a city in ice, and Hyorin Maru's power over snow, ice, and the moisture in the air means the Zanpakuto is ever-changing, ever-evolving, and capable of a plethora of abilities. But of course it's in Hyorin Maru's completed Bankai that we see why this Zanpakuto is deserving of its spot on the list. Not only can Daigoren Hyorin Maru flash freeze opponents of even a gigantic scale, but it can even freeze all matter before it. Its greatest power is the ability to suspend the functions of anything it freezes, essentially nullifying all abilities with its ice, which is in my mind completely busted. As we see when Hitsugaya carves Gerard's Hoffnung in two, Ordinarily damaging Gerard's blade like that would result in Hitsugaya's probable death, but Hyorinmaru completely shuts down its power. In 7th place, we have one of my absolute favourite Zanpakuto in the series, Kisuke Urahara's Benihime. The theming behind Benihime is that of creation and destruction, meaning the possibilities with this Zanpakuto are practically endless. Benihime Shikai demonstrates this on a smaller scale, as Kisuke uses it to create a variety of different constructs, from shields to explosive-laden nets. And of course the Zanpakuto can fire off a powerful arc of crimson energy when not being used for anything else, meaning Benihime has an answer for almost every situation. However, it's in Benihime's Bankai, Kanonbiraki Benihime Aratame, that this Zanpakuto becomes truly broken. I've said it before, but I think this Bankai is absolutely one of the strongest in the series in that its applications are limitless. Limitless! Benihime's Bankai has only one ability. It can restructure anything it touches, and in a short space of time, we see this used to great effect. Kisuke restructures his enemy's body, splitting it open as soon as Askin comes within range, and restructures his own body to both restore destroyed organs, completely fixing his sight on the spot, and to empower his own physical capabilities. Kanonbiraki Benihime Aratame can even restructure the landscape around them, as Kisuke uses it to open a portal for Grimmjow to make his way through. This is probably my favourite Bankai in Bleach, and it fits Kisuke perfectly, but even separating the Zanpakuto from the Shinigami shows us that this blade offers an unparalleled level of reality warping control. And in 6th place, we have my favourite Zanpakuto, though the more I think about it, the closer it becomes between this and Benihime. But of course it is Kyoraku Shunsui's Katen Kyokotsu, one of the trickiest Zanpakuto in Bleach, and the very definition of broken hacks. In Shikai, Katen Kyokotsu is already on a completely different level to almost every other Shikai in the series, giving its wielder the power to make children's games reality, bringing them to life in a deadly fashion that ensnares the opponent in games and rules that they don't understand, and couldn't possibly prepare for. Even though Kyoraku likes to joke around about how unpredictable and how moody Katen Kyokotsu is, about how it often doesn't cooperate with him, the absolute truth of this Zanpakuto is that Kyoraku is always in control and always has an inherent advantage. So long as there are games to be played, the variations of this shadowy Shikai are almost endless, meaning Katen Kyokotsu is more elaborate than most Bankai. However, speaking of Bankai, Katen Kyokotsu Karamatsu Shinju takes both the wielder and the target through an elaborate 4-act theatre production, flipping the notion of play on its head. While we only get to see the one story, one that tells a gruesome tale of love, betrayal, suicide, and eventually, inevitably, death, leading to an inescapable fate, it is likely that there are many others that can be produced to fit the scenario. It honestly seems like the only way to escape Kyoraku's Bankai is to be totally unkillable, and, well, that's unfortunately the caliber of enemy he comes up against. But that shouldn't take away from the fact that Katen Kyokotsu is clearly one of the sneakiest, unpredictable, treacherous, and powerful Zanpakuto in Bleach. Alright, as we enter the top 5, I know the title of this video denotes manga only, but I'm gonna play a little fast and loose with that definition here. Shutara Senjumaru's Shigarami is both seen and used in the manga, albeit to considerably lesser effect than in the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime. But the anime has added so much that it's honestly just as canon as the manga, with the two of them working alongside one another to give us the ultimate form of the final arc. Shigarami reminds me a lot of Benihime in that its applications feel almost limitless. In Shikai, Shigarami takes the form of a sewing needle through which a thread of reishi constantly flows. Senjumaru can then use Shigarami to manifest all manner of constructs in an instant, weaving illusory tapestries that resemble the landscape around her, to deftly changing the composition of her opponent's clothes, imprisoning and killing them in a creation of her own making. The anime shows us that Shigarami can also be used to weave an umbrella that is capable of blocking and reflecting energy attacks, or swiftly create a makeshift doll of herself in order to act as a decoy. It's difficult to know exactly how much of Shigarami's power and capability comes from Senjumaru's own immense skill as a weaver, and the fact that her artificial golden arms are specifically designed to facilitate her Zanpakuto's ability, but even so, Shigarami is a force to be reckoned with. Shigarami's Bankai manifests a gigantic loom, which then weaves a dimension made entirely of tan mono fabric, trapping Senjumaru's targets inside. Once inside the tan mono realm, Senjumaru can freely manipulate reality, drawing on the foreseen fates of her opponents to then seal them within their own personal prison. While it doesn't appear to outright kill them, Shatatsu Haragara Shigarami no Tsuji is capable of dealing with an entire group of enemies at once, giving its user total control over each of their individual battlefields when inside the domain. Of course, it is specifically Senjumaru's Reiatsu that shakes the foundation of the three worlds, so that shouldn't really be taken into account here. But even without that, Shigarami is easily one of the craziest Zanpakuto in the entire series. Okay, in fourth place, we have what I consider to be the single hardest Zanpakuto to rank on this entire list. There might be some of you out there who don't even think it deserves to make the top 10 when its wielder isn't being considered, and there may be some of you out there who thinks that this should obviously be number 1, and that's of course Ichigo Kurosaki's true Zangetsu. Of course, Ichigo himself is the single strongest character in Bleach in terms of his raw, latent power and potential. So when Tensa Zangetsu is killing Soul King Yhwach in a single hit, well, a lot of that is going to be down to Ichigo himself. But there's also no denying that the true Zangetsu is in a new league of its own, something that has been really highlighted by the anime. Once forged in the flames of the Royal Palace, Zangetsu splits into 2 blades, a symbol of the perfect harmony achieved between Shinigami, Quincy and Hollow powers that flow within. In this form, a single sliver of a Getsuga Tensho is now enough to act as a defensive shield, blocking abilities like Yhwach's own Sankt Borgen, while the true Zangetsu's crowning jewel Getsuga Jujisho, a golden crossblade slash, is perhaps one of the single strongest abilities we've ever seen in Bleach in terms of raw power output, utterly dominating the battlefield whenever it's used. And then, yes, while Tensa Zangetsu is definitely a little disappointing in its application and execution, it's also incredibly powerful in its own right, producing a Getsuga Tensho that does indeed carve right through the godly Yhwach. Again, this is the toughest Zanpakuto to rank on the list, because at the end of the day, what's it really doing? Throwing huge energy blasts about the place, and that's honestly it. But those energy blasts are no joke. And as I said at the top of the video, completely separating Shinigami from Zanpakuto just isn't possible. This is the one I really want to get your opinions on down in the comments. And also I think there is much more to see still from Tensa Zangetsu specifically that could change the way this ranking goes in the future. Okay, and that paves the way for the top 3 strongest Zanpakuto in Bleach, and I'd be very surprised if you hadn't seen these coming in some capacity. In third place, we have Sosuke Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu, which really felt like one of the earliest examples of a completely broken, completely unbeatable power, the likes of which we had no idea how the heroes would eventually overcome. I've always maintained on this channel that the simpler the power, the more incredible it often is, and that's absolutely true here. Kyoka Suigetsu's sole ability is complete hypnosis, Kanzen Simon, and it allows its wielder to totally control the 5 senses with perfect illusions. From the moment Aizen releases his Shikai in front of someone, they fall under its spell for the rest of their life, meaning to them, It's totally possible that the reality they see and experience on a daily basis is just as Aizen wants it to be. Kyoka Suigetsu manipulates sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell flawlessly, allowing its wielder to create absolutely perfect illusions that are all-encompassing. It is a terrifying ability, and one that is nigh impossible to circumvent or overcome. Using this power, Aizen faked his own death, having the entire Gotei 13 see and feel and experience something that simply wasn't there. In Aizen's own words, he can make a fly appear to be a dragon, or a swamp into a flower garden, but the irony is that it goes far beyond that. There's seemingly no limit to how elaborate Aizen's illusions can be, to the point where he once had someone completely different take his place and follow his captain around for an entire month without arousing suspicion. Even without knowing its Bankai, Kyoka Suigetsu is one of the most powerful Zanpakuto in Bleach, even capable of subverting Yhwach the Almighty, which quite literally is the single strongest ability in the series. However, in second place, we have, by Aizen's own admission, the ultimate Zanpakuto, Shigekuni Genryusai Yamamoto's Ryujin Jaka. Fittingly, for the founder of the Gotei 13 himself, Yamamoto's Ryujin Jaka is perhaps the Zanpakuto in Bleach with the single most destructive power at its disposal, conjuring a tempestuous flame that annihilates all within its path. Ryujin Jaka is another fairly simple Zanpakuto, but it is astonishing in its might. In fact, it's quite refreshing in a sense. Most of the Zanpakuto that make up this list are tricky in one way or another, but Ryujin Jaka is here simply because of the sheer power it commands, the sheer force it can overwhelm and obliterate its foes with, the sheer torrent of inescapable fire that it wields. It is straightforward in its destruction, and that's awesome. The Shikai alone manifests a tidal wave of continuous billowing flame that's capable of overwhelming most enemies in the series, and abilities like Enetsu Jigoku tower over entire cityscapes in a majestic display of Ryujin Jaka's authority as the ultimate Zanpakuto. But of course it is in Ryujin Jaka's unstoppable Bankai, Zanka no Tachi, where the true power resides. And honestly, Zanka no Tachi makes a compelling argument for topping this list altogether. Zanka no Tachi's 4 distinct abilities give its wielder an unbelievable offense, capable of erasing entire swaths of land from existence with the flick of a wrist, and an unconquerable defense, surrounding Yamamoto with a robe of searing hot flame, wreathing him in the very power of the sun, the likes of which again erases things from existence that dare to get too close. Zanka no Tachi can even conjure the very dead from beneath the earth, granting its wielder an undying army of charred and blackened skeletons to do their bidding, representing a monstrous bastardization of the very meaning of the word Shinigami. Zanka no Tachi is so overwhelming that the mere act of having it active shuts down other powers across the Seirete. Hitsugaya's own Bankai, which ranked 8th on this list, is completely unusable when Zanka no Tachi is heating up the atmosphere to an incredible degree. And even the Soul Society itself was at risk of being destroyed underneath its power. But right from the moment I decided to reevaluate this list, to rewrite this however many years after the last time we delved into it, there was only one Zanpakuto that could take the #1 spot. One Zanpakuto so divine in its capabilities that it looks down upon the other Zanpakuto in the series from on high, capable of transforming, rewriting, and even erasing their very existence. Of course, I'm talking about Hanataro's Hisagumaru. Wait, wrong line. I mean Ichibei Hyosobei's Ichimonji. The leader of the Zero Division was always going to boast an impossible power, and well, Ichimonji is just that. Taking the form of a large calligraphy brush, Ichimonji feels weirdly meta, in the sense that it feels like God himself is intervening in this medium, in the world of Bleach itself as an art form on the page. Unusually, Ichimonji has a special ability even in its base form. Anything that touches the brush has its name halved, and in the world of Bleach, names form the very foundation of everything. For example, when Yhwach blocks the brush with his arm, the name of that limb becomes an R, and its strength is halved along with its name. And things only get crazier from there. When in Shikai, Ichimonji doesn't cut flesh, but instead splashes ink all over the battlefield. If this thick black ink blots something out, it completely erases its name, and all power that goes with it. Ichibei doesn't face off against the Shinigami in battle, but the premise is the same. Ichibei covers Yhwach's blade and Quincy Cross in ink, rendering them utterly helpless before him. If Ichimonji were to cover a Shinigami's Zanpakuto in ink in the same way, through the simple act of it being splashed upon them with but a wave of the hand, the Zanpakuto would lose its name and all of its acquired power. Absolutely everything about that Zanpakuto would become totally inaccessible, and for a Shinigami that can mean everything. I honestly wonder what that would look like. I'd kind of love to see it. What would happen to the Zanpakuto spirit if its name is completely removed? It's as though a piece of their very soul has been blotted out of existence. As I said, it's as though Kubo himself takes on the role of Ichibei, capable of writing over or erasing whatever he wants in the world, as though he were the author's own avatar. In a medium like this, a meta power like that is for all intents and purposes unbeatable, especially in comparison to other Zanpakuto, all of which draw their power from their name. And that's all without mentioning Ichibei's Bankai, or Shinuchi as he calls it, Shirafude Ichimonji, which effectively gives Ichibei a godlike command over his target's fate and their own makeup, allowing him to bestow them with a new name after removing their original one. With this, Shirafude Ichimonji can totally dictate what that renamed individual becomes, totally transforming their attributes to fit the new description. This is an example of a power that is truly limitless, with the only limit being whatever the wielder wants to rename something as. It's for these reasons that Ichimonji is clearly the strongest Zanpakuto in Bleach, even with its Shinigami removed from the equation. Again, its powers are fairly simple, but they're unmatched, and almost godlike in the way they have command over the entire Bleach world. Alright guys, so that's it for today's video, the latest ranking of the strongest Zanpakuto in Bleach, this time for 2025. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below as to whether or not you agree with my list, with the placements, with what I've chosen. I'd love to know. How well do our opinions align, or am I completely off base with this one? Again, I've really tried my best to separate the Zanpakuto from the Shinigami itself. It is very inherently difficult to do, but hopefully that worked out for you. I'd love to hear again your thoughts down in the comments below as to where you would rank these Zanpakuto. Do please let me know. Were there any egregious examples that I missed as well? Again, I don't think there were. I had reasons for all of the Zanpakuto that I listed at the start of the video not actually making it onto the list, but you may disagree, so do please share your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so very much for watching as always, and I hope you took something of value from this video as well today. Consider, if you haven't done already, hitting subscribe down below to help push the channel to its next major milestone, and check out Mr. Tomo Talks Games to help get that channel off the ground and running as well. Your support over there has been a total game changer, and it does mean the absolute world. And as always, I want to end this video just by saying one massive thank you and giving a huge shout out to my supporters over on Patreon again, who really do come through for channels like this at the start of the year when YouTube is pretty dry, so I massively appreciate all of your support over there. It's thanks to you that I'm able to keep doing this, so it really does mean the absolute world. It makes an enormous difference. Alright guys, once again, thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.
Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain. Enemy rampage. Has destroyed a turret. Shut down. An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. enemy is unstoppable. Dominating. Destroyed. Has been slain. turret has been destroyed. Enemy killing spree. Enemy killing spree. An ally has been slain. Enemy killing spree. An enemy has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed. Slain. turret has been destroyed.
Oblivion is too
Defeat.